The next speaker is proven to be a very popular sportsman and soccerite that hail from Merebank, and something of a draw card for a function like this, and we are very privileged to have in our midst Victor Govinsamy. I think it's a household name. And he is going to address us on some of the victories in the sporting arena, more specifically on soccer and the heydays of the non-racial soccer movement back in the day. I hand you over to Victor Govinsamy.
Greetings to one and all, and I've seen many guys that I've not seen for the last, I think, 40 years. I moved out of Merebank about 35 years ago. So good to see the guys. And I came with my tackies thinking that we were going to do five-a-side at but I directed it's not so. But I've just got about 8 minutes, and normally I like to free talk, but here I am. I'm going to read what I wrote down as I transfer these thoughts onto paper. As I was reflecting on what I would talk about, beloved Merebank, what came to mind is two things that I would love to touch on, and that is, number one, that was a thought recurring in my head was ashes to beauty. And the other thought that recurred in my head, because I was so involved in soccer all my life, in fact my life revolved around soccer. And there was a phrase that was coined by, I think it was Arsene Pansakos, no abnormal sport, or no normal sport in an abnormal society. And so the street teams in Merebank were very well known. That's how soccer started in Merebank. And I just want to touch on that quickly. How did it start and where did it emerge from? A lot of us coming into Merebank was not by choice. We were actually forced into this area of Merebank because of the Group Areas Act and you know the apartheid regime that was leading at that time. We were living peacefully and very contentedly in May Street out there in Merebank in the Navy area. And that was by choice. When we were forcefully removed from that area to make way for progress, at that time the N2 freeway was going to go across. And that's where it split, and you had Amritsar Place and Julanda Place, and we were right in the center of that, and we lost a huge house. It was a freehold property, a beautiful mansion. And the property was so big that we had a private graveyard that my forefathers were built on that property. And so all of that was taken, and we were loaded into these corporation trucks, right? Those are the schemes that came up. And we were loaded into those corporation trucks, and we were virtually dumped in Warangal Road on the roadside, and we had to make our way into these houses that were tiny little 2-bedroom cottages that were detached with asbestos roof, made of ash blocks, and kind of just whitewashed. And so life had to start all over again as such in Merebank, in an area that was absolutely not well planned, not thought of as well, because there were no facilities available at that time, no amenities whatsoever, and there was just one primary school right there in Hillside, and that was even an army kind of barracks or whatever it is that was converted to become a school. And see many of you nodding heads and laughing, you know what I'm talking about. And that was serving a growing population and just a patch of ground, and sometimes even a tarmac. We would play on a tarmac or on the road. So that would do. And you know what? 4 bricks for the goalposts. And instead of getting frustrated and angry and bitter and getting into all sorts of nonsense, we got together as a community in each road as such, and we started to build the sports fields that we needed with our spades and our hoes and our bush knives. And I remember going out across the road go from my backyard where I lived in Waranga Road into Travancore Drive, and it was all bush out there. Got the guys together, and we started our first sports field in Travancore Drive. And it was built out of our own hands. And then we discovered that other streets were doing the same as well. Tesco Place had their own place, their own team, and Silent Place, and Harcourt Place, and Narvada Road, and Bodana Road, and every street had virtually a team going on. And so these teams used to go, and what we used to do is to go from street to street. We would compete and serious competition, and it became a vibrant part of our life and the society that we lived in at that time. And so instead of getting frustrated and angry and bitter and protesting about the lack of facilities, we took the little that we had, we united together in one accord, one purpose, one spirit, and built it into something beautiful that benefited the neighborhood. And then one man, I must highlight here, had the vision and the desire to organize all of these informal street teams into a kind of formal structured league. And the forest where we normally went out to play and normally steal the monkeys' food, you know, the dum-dums that we used to play out there, steal the monkeys' food, and then we see one day it's being cleared. And that became the home of Hades League, where the street teams became structured, and we went out and we started to play out there. And I had a team going at this young age, and it was young Americans or something like that, and we were playing the older guys. It was not about winning or losing, it was just about having fun and enjoying the company of all of these footballers that were emerging out there. And out of Eddie's League, many young talented men came. Many great teams emerged from that. Then we see a few later, and what I want to highlight about that period was this. We saw a spirit that was prevalent amongst the young men at that time, the people of Merebank. Instead of bemoaning the lack of sports fields, the people got together and created their own and created something beautiful out of nothing. And so when Merebank Football Association was birthed around the early 60s, most of the teams moved away from Eddie's League and started to get involved in Merebank Football Association, and there came the end of Eddie's League. And I just want to salute Eddie for that. I don't know if he's still alive, but we need to acknowledge him for that. And so, especially the boys and men in Merebank, our lives were centered around the football field. I mean, within a short space of time, Merebank Football Association became a dynamic organization with many great leaders, many great teams, and at one point, and Mr. Paulia is one of those stalwarts that we want to follow through. He just turned 85 out there. Thank you for the time they put in, and then my friend Katie somewhere here, he was chairman as well at one stage. And then I also want to bring Marlon Pagliacci to the picture. You know, Marlon was a journalist out here, and he made Merebank famous. And so we had many great teams come out, teams like Dynamos, you know, top teams in this area, Ocean View, Green Falcon, Paper Sacks, Young Marine, Santos, and if I forget some of the names, guys, there's too many, it just goes on, the list goes on. And many of these teams would have easily competed in the top level of the highest level in this country. But unfortunately, because of the lack of resources, and you know, we were right there, always stifled by the apartheid government, they put pay to a lot of great ambitions that were arising at that time. And in the 70s, I just want to highlight this quickly, many young men started to get involved in pro football. And the first one was Stephen Ganesh in 1975, that left Santos, went to Bang Rangers, stayed for a year. And when he was just coming out of it in 1975, I actually signed up for Bang Rangers as well. And I stayed there on the pro ranks for about 6 years till I was injured and that got paid. And then we had Rajan Naidu going in for a while, and I used to transport in 79, I think it was, I used to transport Rajan and take him for training and that kind of stuff. And we had Vijay Singh and Mama, and and a good few guys that came out of this area. But one of the sad things that I see, that when I walk around Merebank, and whenever I come down from Johannesburg, Merebank is my first port of call, my beloved Merebank. That I noticed that one of the things that I noticed during that period in the 70s was, even though Merebank rose up to be one of the giants amongst the associations in football, we were in the south, and we were part of the lower south as well. And now you know what happens when you're in the south, right? You always get left behind, right? The guys in the north, Reservoir Hills and Durban and Devon Central, they were always being selected for the Southern Natal squads, and as a result, many great talented players in this area were not able to showcase their talents. A case in point was that no senior player was selected for the Southern Natal squad for a period of 13 years here in Merebank. And I must give credit where it's due, until Anand Govinsamy, Ramya that you know, look, I'm not in favor of some of the tactics and the methods that were used, but he put pressure on the selectors at that time and said, there's a young man that you need to get into that team. And he was referring to me, and I was selected in 1975 to represent Southern Natal. And I think I would have probably been overlooked as well, had it not been for the pressure that he applied on the selectors. And his strong intervention got me into the Southern Natal squad. And I just want to highlight the one match that happened with Southern Natal playing Northern Natal. And that was in 1975. And the scouts from Merebank Rangers were sitting in there. And I just want to highlight that, because had many of our guys been selected by Southern Natal, many of them could have made it as well. And so the scouts were there, and I played in that match. We were 2-0 down, got in half time, scored actually, we won the game 7-2, and I got into Merebank Rangers squad from that time, and the rest is history. We're not going to go into that. But I just want to highlight this, that abnormalities between soccer amongst the whites and the non-whites, or the blacks at that time, was what led to that no normal soccer in an abnormal society, which became the slogan of SACOS. Now, I very clearly remember at the age of 15 was the first time that I went out into Kingsmead. It was not by choice. I was taken by some family that I was visiting at that time, and the match was between Durban City and Durban United. And when I got there, and you look at this magnificent stadium, a huge stadium, and you stand and you look at it in awe, and then you kind of, when you get in there, you saw this well-manicured grass turf, and the stands were beautifully laid out. And what I noticed above everything else was there was this huge crowd. It was packed out. But the majority of the people that were there were Indians that were seated in that grounds. And at that young, tender age, I thought that was very wrong. And I took a mental note of it, and I never went into Kingsmead ever again. And the majority of that, fast forward, we always look forward to playing pro soccer. But what a rude awakening it was when we went into pro soccer. I remember we had to travel from Merebank to Asherville. The white guys had all the change rooms, they had the showers, they had the pubs. After training you could go in and kind of relax and well-lit grounds. We used to travel from Merebank to go out to train in Asherville, Overport area, and the lights were just as bad as it was in Merebank. You remember, very dull, you couldn't even train there. And there were times when the lights would not come on, and what we would do is we would have the cars out there on the hilltop. We would be training in the bottom and connect the floodlights to the batteries, and we are supposedly pro guys training under those conditions. And we would have to travel to Transvaal and all these kind of places, and we would jump on the Kumbi on Friday night and drive overnight to go and play on Saturday, to get back on Sunday because we needed to be at work on Monday. And that was pro football for you nowadays, not like the days today. And so, in 1977, there was a scene that brought tears to my eyes. I remember this one, where Merebank Rangers were in a final with Bluebells. And we had a record crowd of 25,000 rands in the mecca of non-racial football, Curry's Fountain. Never seen before. And why this brought tears to my eyes was when I saw this, we were battling for crowds all the time. Remember? Most of the crowds used to be going out to Kingsview. And we would get just 5,000, 6,000, we got 10,000, we were lucky. But on this particular occasion, thousands turned out, they even broke the gates to get into the ground. And I was so satisfied with that because I knew that there was a turnaround coming and desegregation was around the corner. And within a short space of time, that happened in 1979 when the NFL was disbanded around that period, right? And they joined the non-racial FPL. And that was, a momentous occasion for Secos. And there was this occasion in 79 where Manning Rangers had to play Devon City. And Devon City was like the greatest team, not just in Natal, but in Africa. They were the most feared. And they got into the mecca of non-racial soccer where Secos was birthed, and they got a hiding of their life. We gave them about 2 years. Now, I said that for this reason. What if we had the same as all of those white guys that had that? What would have Merebank and soccer as a whole been for the Indians? And so they enjoyed all of the luxury provided by this white racist government at the cost of the masses that you and I have. Now, as I look at Merebank today, what do I see? It pains my heart to see the degeneration that is setting, from ashes to beauty. And when I was writing this, and I said, where to now? And I put a question mark there. And degeneration, unfortunately, is setting to the area owing to a various sets of problems with the current government that we face it, and we fought to put them into power. So that's why my wife and I, when we heard of this project, it kind of stirred something in us. It kind of lit up a fire in our souls. It stirred something to the point that we knew that Merebank needed a kind of catalyst to get Merebank to the point of those glory days again. How do we do this? There was this resilience that Merebank, that we had, our fathers and us as youngsters of those days. There was this spirit, right, to get things done, to do things, not to wait for things to happen. And I believe that this that has been started, it's a mammoth task. It's a heavy thing that you guys are doing. And it takes all it takes, I got here is a few young men, when I look around, not so young as well, men to get together, to band together, to come together with that one accord, with one spirit that was prevalent in this area at one time. We came, and so my wife and I, Desiree, Joseph Prakas's daughter, many of you know her, right, from Merebank. We came here to let you know, and I made this trip especially for this function, just to come and let you know that we believe in what you have started, and that we want to come alongside you and support that vision that you have, and to revitalize an area or revitalize lives. There needs to be a catalyst, and I believe this is the catalyst to move that forward. And so, well done, guys, committee, those, and Viren, and for getting this vision and starting this. I just want to say, keep persevering. I just want to give a warning, and I want to end with this. This book will probably, you're going to lose a lot of friends. Because why is my picture not there? And why isn't this picture of my father or grandfather or this legend or whatever it is not there? That it is impossible to put everything together. So let's just stand together. And whatever choice they make, let's just go with it. Right? Because I believe it is not the book that is the important part. But what is this book going to do going forward? How is it going to be the catalyst to revitalize this area that we all love so much? And so I say, well done, keep persevering, never give up, because three things are going to be happening. You're going to be criticized for what you're going to do. in spite of the goodness of your heart. They're going to condemn you for what you're doing, and they're going to complain a lot. It's not going to be perfect, but keep persevering. Don't let a few people dictate the future of this area, Merebank, that we love so much. And so we're praying for your success, my wife and I, and the family. And you can call upon us at any time, and we'll try our utmost to be there to assist in whatever way we can. God bless you.
30 years old.
You want to give you a job. You know what? You can have really good stage and can say something different for you to say through it.
Okay, I think you see an impromptu gesture that is falling in front of us, so we'll invite the gentleman up to stage to make a little presentation to our guest speaker, who will deliver such a powerful speech.
Hello people, I'm really glad to be here today. I'm from Ampumas, come here for that reunion. We were born and brought up in Merebank, and I would like to present this badge to Victories, because they are the greatest soccer right in Merebank ever produced. I was always at the matches, and it's 30 years old, and I had it for a long time. I think you do now.
I just want to say, if it was me, if I knew it was here, I would definitely make this trip. But making this trip and receiving this makes it all the better.
You know, I didn't have the heart to stop him or even give him the 1 minute notice, because he was actually saying so many things that needed to be said. But this one phrase that I have to repeat is that it lit a fire in our souls. And I think that is the spirit that we are seeing. And with that spirit going forward, and with the support of each and every one of you, I think we will be victorious, as I said, hopefully in just under the